Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. I get the honor to be the host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. I'm a lifelong Clarksvillian. Went away to school for a little bit, but get to call Clarksville home now by choice and get to be a part of telling you the story about people from all across our community who are doing great, amazing things and making this the greatest place to live. Today's guest is one I'm really, really excited about. I've known him for a very long time, and he's back in our community with a new role. That's head basketball coach at Austin Peay State University, Coach Gipson. He's someone that I've really wanted to get along. I'm really eager to have him talk about kind of progress of the season so far. We're really excited to get him here right before they start conference play and get into the thick of the season. But you're going to want to catch this all the way to the end. Before we start, if you would hit like, subscribe, whatever it would be to show you episodes like this. I think if you make it to the end of this episode, you're going to find out these are the stories that I want to hear that are going to give me pride in my community and help me know people who are making a positive impact all across Clarksville. So without further ado, Coach Gipson, thanks for being here.
Kevin, thank you, man. I tell you what, I walked outside of F&M Bank Arena the other day, and guess who I saw on the Jumbotron? Well, not Jumbotron. What do you call those big
That's
boys?
the digital display ad.
The digital
billboard,
display ad.
the
I saw Kevin Kennedy. I said,
Senior or junior?
The junior.
The
junior.
Yeah, that's me, man. We're excited to support Austin Peay. That's a new addition to campus there, that digital billboard that shows up right there. It's huge. It's clear. My dad's on there. I get to be on there occasionally. Some other big Austin Peay supporters, Marcia Campbell, and you'll see Nikki on there every once in a while.
For sure.
So, but I'm glad Austin Peay gets that. It's great to add to the downtown. For anybody going to Shelby's Trio and down to the arena for the first time, they got to get by Austin Peay, and so they get to promote the university a little bit.
That's a big touch on the strip.
Yes.
A real
absolutely.
big touch, yeah. You bring a nice smile to the.
Hey, we might have to put some recruits on there when they come into town.
Let's do it.
Put the finishing touches on there. Well, it is an honor to talk to you, man. We go way back from your playing days. We had a chance to connect while you were here as an assistant. Mm-hmm. And when you were named head basketball coach, I was so excited because I knew the type of man that you are.
Thank you.
The type of value that you're going to bring to both the university, but also our entire community. You live here and coach here. It's not you just coach here, but you live here and you coach here. So thanks for what you do. Tell me a little bit about what it means for you to be head basketball coach at Austin Peay State University.
I tell you, we're just thankful to be part of the Austin Peay family.
Yeah.
Right? That's unique within itself. And then when you take the next step and you graduate that to being at the helm of Austin Peay State University men's basketball, obviously that adds a different flair and flavor, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. My wife, she was so stoked in coming back to Tennessee, even though she doesn't have the Austin Peay roots, she has Tennessee roots. Mm-hmm. So when the opportunity came about, she said, you know what? She said, I think that we can really go back and work as a staff and as a family to really make an impact in that community. And she said it in a very passionate way. And I said, wow, we have something in common because Austin Peay, Tennessee, it's all in the same language. Mm-hmm. It's the same love language. It's the same family. And so her passion, my history, right? I said, you know what? We really have something that we can put together because in this profession, what happens is a lot of times the coach, we get the recognition, we get the notoriety, and we get the credit. And a lot of times our wives, who are the backbone of what we do, mm-hmm. are very seldom mentioned, mm-hmm. okay? But in any decision that's made in the coaching profession, most of the time, the wife is the driving force. So I like to give my wife the credit for us being here.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't for her putting her stamp on it, we never would have made it to Clarksville.
Yeah. I tell the story, and I've said it a few times on here. One of the things you learn as a leader is you've got this voice at home that, you take a lot of the credit. You get to be on the billboards and things like that. But there's a voice at home that's often wiser and more discerning and more prophetic in some ways. And so when you hear that that affirmation, the confirmation,
Yes.
and you put it together, that is really something special. And you're probably like me. I'm entering year 17 of marriage, I think is what we're going to hit this year. So you're hitting in that like season where you've been doing this a while.
Is that dog years or human years?
That's human years, man.
17 in human years?
17 in human years, yeah. So,
Man.
and I'm still learning to listen to her. So yeah, I got a lot to learn.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm glad that, you see that and see, her value to our community, because she does come in a long line of wives of head coaches that add a lot of value to our community. Obviously, Miss Luce, number one, she has done that. And I know that she supported you as players and you as assistants. And so your wife's going to play a big role in your success here. Tell me about that call from Gerald. How did that go? I've always wondered about that. I tell you, this story is when we learned that the AD was going to be making a move. I was talking to Zach Glotta, who played for you previously, and he said, number one home run, off the chart, absolute dynamic celebrity hire that we can get is Coach Gipson.
He's too kind.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna put that back in my back pocket. You never know how these things turn out. He's obviously got something going great where he is, but at some point you get the call from Gerald, and I'm wondering how did that feel in that moment?
Well, so I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna backtrack.
Yeah.
And this is also for people that are aspiring in the profession, and this is for people that think they know how hiring goes about and they have no idea.
Which is me. That's
In
what I'm
our
asking.
profession.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you backtrack to us going to Northwestern State, okay? When I got the call from the search firm to go to Northwestern State, okay, what do you think I was doing?
I'm guessing you were on the road recruiting, if I had to guess.
I was not.
Okay.
I was taking the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I was sitting on the toilet.
Yeah. That's where it went down.
That's what I was doing.
Answer the phone, though.
Okay. Now, so
That's a college coach available to answer a call at any time.
I'm an early riser.
I should have known the Cleveland Browns ain't going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. I'm an early riser. Yeah. I get up around 4 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
I take the Browns to the Super Bowl. It's very routine.
Yeah.
And I take my phone with me because in this profession, you never know when you might get a call from one of your players, one of the coaches,
Right.
et cetera.
Right.
Or even a recruit that early in the morning if you recruit globally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my phone rings. Okay. It's an unknown call. I don't have the number saved in my phone. I pick it up and it's a search firm. And I said, hello. And they said, Coach Gipson. I said, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He said, they said you had a sense of humor.
Yeah.
He said, call me after you kick the field goal.
Oh, man.
Okay. Now, that's how that went.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward to Northwestern State. We are in, now mind you, I never had spoken to Gerald, never had a conversation with Gerald before in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are in the conference tournament and my security comes back to the walkthrough. We're having a walkthrough in the hotel in Lake Charles, in the casino. And he says, Gip, you didn't tell me one of your partners from Austin Peay was coming to Lake Charles. I said, huh? He said, yeah. He said, you always tell me when somebody's coming. I said, I told you who was coming. He said, it's a guy out there with a big red Austin Peay hat on in the lobby. I said, huh?
Yeah.
He said, Gip, you know I catch every raindrop.
That's right.
I said, well, I don't know who it is. He said, well, I'm just letting you know. Maybe you have a special guest. So I dropped it. I left it alone. He left it alone, but he never misses a raindrop. So we finished our walkthrough. The next day, we going into the conference tournament, okay? And there's Gerald sitting in the middle of the stands.
Could you see him?
I could see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think that it ruffled some feathers, and I think that it moved some needles
Yeah. Okay.
on the side of Northwestern
Sure.
State.
But what's he doing here?
Okay, because I had an administrator to come sit down beside me before the game. I never had an administrator from Northwestern State sit down beside me before any game. And he was looking at me and was like, hey, Gip, how you doing today? How you feel about it? I said, I feel real good about it. He said, yeah, we're going to get it done today. I said, we're going to get it done. I said, man, this is strange.
Yeah. This doesn't normally happen.
It's not normally happening,
Yeah.
right? And so I said, wow. I said, that's a bold statement by Gerald Harrison and Austin Peay to show up at a conference tournament game in front of the administration where I was currently coaching at the time. Okay, that's a very bold move.
Yeah.
Right? Now, he and I, we still did not have conversation.
Right.
And then it went from there. And then after the fact, the search firm ended up reaching out. But the next day, there was more administration from Austin Peay at the championship game.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't see Gerald there at the championship game, but more administration from Austin Peay came and attended the championship game. So that was another bold statement.
Yeah.
And then after the fact was when I had the first conversation with the search firm after the championship game was over.
Wow. Well, I guess, Zach Glider was right. When you send that much firepower, then that was the home run hire. They knew they were investing the energy, and they had to see it firsthand.
That was a very aggressive approach. But I've always been told if you got to send a resume, you might as well not even try to pack your bags to go where you think you're going.
Yeah.
When it comes to hiring and getting these positions in any sport, okay, you have to be pursued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And you had the resume already. You didn't have to send it, And
Well,
people knew who you were, and people in the community knew who you were. So
there's always somebody that can do it better than you. In any profession we're in, we're only just standing in the gap.
yeah.
But while we're in that gap, we have to put our best foot forward.
Yeah. And so you take the job, and you're coming to put your stamp on this program that you have a history with. Obviously, you have some things about you personally that you are instilling in the culture of your program. What would you say to somebody who, let's say, has known about Austin Peay basketball for a while, but maybe hasn't paid too much attention to it? What is the stamp of head coach Corey Gipson on the Austin Peay basketball program that you want people to see when we meet players in the community, or we watch you play in the arena, or we get to, hear about things that are happening in the program? What are some things that are important to you?
Well, there's only one guarantee that I spoke about when we were brought back to speak in front of an audience. I don't call it a press conference. I call it a come together meeting, right? And I said the only thing that I'm going to guarantee is that when you come watch the Governors play, you're going to see a team that will leave empty, meaning that nothing will be left in the tank. Mm. That's the only guarantee that I've guaranteed since arriving in Clarksville, is that you will see a team that leaves empty. Now, outside of that, what we have built our infrastructure on is servanthood, brotherhood, and unconditional love.
Wow.
That's what we have built our infrastructure on, okay? We have tried to work in a tireless way to serve each other and serve the community. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's first and foremost. The brotherhood that we have made sure that we've been diligent in our efforts, okay, and being genuine brothers to each other on a daily basis, not just when it's convenient, right? And then when it comes to unconditional love, we have to have unconditional love for ourselves, and we have to have it for other people. And as long as we keep the servanthood, brotherhood, and unconditional love intact, the rest will take care of itself. But the game that we're trying to win is the servanthood, brotherhood, unconditional love game on a daily, okay? And we're not worried about our record as much as some may think.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of an old soul, right? When you talk about this, some people may not be watching this, they may just be listening to it, but I think they can hear your passion when you say these three things: servanthood, brotherhood, unconditional love. They can sense it, and you're getting to cast this vision to what I'm guessing are 18 to 22, 23, maybe 24-year-olds who are experiencing some of this in a new way. As you grow up and you go through high school, you get into new relationships in college where you interact with people that maybe you've not known very long, and you've got to have new types of attachment, emotional bonding that happens on a basketball team. And the wins in those categories sometimes match up with wins and losses in the win column. Sometimes they don't. But I think people will hear from you that this is really important to you as a person and leading these young men to now become young men. A part of that I've noticed from the outside is you've brought in Pastor Robert Harris to have a role around the young men. So tell us a little bit about, what was it what was it about him that you saw that you thought, hey, he's going to help us accomplish some of our vision in these categories as the program?
I'm a skin in the game guy.
Yeah.
Is what I am. You know, I don't, and I'm not saying this in a demeaning way or a negative way. Okay. I associate with people that I have skin in the game with. That's who I associate with. I'm not a guy that's out there yearning, okay, or searching, okay, for love, okay, that I have to seek out. Mm-hmm. Right? I was raised that way. You know, I was raised by old school people that talked under the shade tree. And a lot of those principles that they live by and abide by, those were instilled in me in a very young age. Mm-hmm. I very seldom hung around people my own age, even when I was younger. And I was always around older people that were giving me knowledge. Yeah. So when it comes to your question about Pastor Robert Harris, when I was a student athlete at Austin Peay, Pastor Harris played with us almost every day.
Oh, really?
He did. If we were playing in the Red Barn, Reverend Harris was playing in the Red Barn.
Okay.
If we were playing in the Dunn, Reverend Harris was playing in the Dunn. And so we just didn't see him as pastor. We saw him as somebody that was relatable.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're young, I was a young man then. What happens when you're a young man and you see clergy? What happens most of the time is that the clergy will Bible whoop you.
Okay. Yeah.
And they immediately want to start teaching you something without ever getting to know you and building a relationship with you. Mm-hmm. See, pastor was before his time. He found an avenue with the ball to build a relationship with us. Yeah. And then if we had the courage to ask him something about the Bible, he would then bless us with that conversation. Yeah. And that's how Pastor Harris grew on us. Now, when I became a graduate assistant at Austin Peay after my eligibility had expired, he called me one day. It's a true story. And I've only shared this with a couple of people. He called me one day and he said, "Gip." I said, "Yes, sir, Pastor." He said, "I need you to come by the house." I said, "What time?" He gave me a time. He said, "Are you free?" I said, "Yes, sir, Pastor, I'll be there." I get to his house, and when I get there were a plethora of suits spread out all throughout the living room, on the couch, on the love seat, on the floor, on the table. And I said, "Man, Pastor, you getting ready for a big trip?" He said, "I am." I said, "What trip is that?" He said, "The trip in you graduating to being a coach." He said, "Pick out 10 of them suits." He said, "I see something in you in coaching." He said, "But I also want you looking good." Yeah. The pastor gave me 10 suits. Wow. To start my coaching career.
Yeah. And what's great about that story is when he said what time, he already had the relational capital where you said, "Okay, I'll move whatever I have," because you've earned it at this point.
For sure.
Yes. Wow.
And then when we got the job at Northwestern State, he was our first call to the nations of coaches who assigns character coaches. He's not just somebody. We have to go through the chain of command. So we go through the nations of coaches who assigns character coaches to every program across the country.
I didn't know that.
So he's under the umbrella of nations of coaches. Now, we call nations of coaches. Well, I call nations of coaches and said, "Hey, this is what I'm looking to do." They said, "Well, we've never assigned a character coach that wasn't in the region or district of a program." And they said, "Why do you want Pastor Harris?" And I gave them the story that I gave you. They said, "Let us take this up the ladder." They called back and they say, "This was the first time we want to assign a character coach that doesn't live in the region." Wow. So he was our character coach in Louisiana.
Sure.
And then, ironically, we're here in Clarksville, Tennessee now, where he resides.
It's either ironic or providential.
I think the latter.
You might let him preach.
Yes, sir.
We're going to let Pastor Harris
Yeah,
preach
we
here
gonna let
one
him
day.
preach.
Yeah, we're going to let him tell
Yes,
his side of the
sir.
story.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Well, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that story. You know, we have so many great leaders in our community. You know, my dad's been around long enough. I've heard stories of men like that. And I wish, you know, I know that the older men, they don't really want to brag on themselves and tell what they do. They keep all that behind closed doors. But for the young men like us stepping into adulthood, it is really encouraging to hear the generosity, both of back when you were a player, of his time going to the Red Barn, going to the Dunn, but then also materially when he sees something in you, prophetically speaking it over you, and it coming with something that's really going to be a blessing. Because we all know GAs didn't have enough money to buy 10 suits, you know. But if you're going to do it, I see it in you. I'm going to jumpstart your blessing, your gifting, whatever. And now here we are today. And I don't know if you still wear a suit on the sideline, but I know you're still looking good.
I appreciate it. This is the first year that I haven't worn suits in my coaching career.
Wow. Yeah.
And the reason why I'm not wearing suits this year is because my staff isn't wearing suits.
Okay.
Right. And I felt like last year, I felt like I wore suits and it kind of diluted what they were wearing. And so I really want to make sure that I don't dilute my staff in overdressing, right? And in the times now after the pandemic, I think the cat is out the bag that you don't have to wear a suit every game.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's part of also the pillar of your program is servanthood. You know, as the head coach, you also serve your assistants and your GAs and your quality controls or whoever you got on your staff, you know, and part of serving them is giving them a voice and reflecting the values, you know, both verbally, but also showing things like that, you know, you don't get credit for, but you say, I'm going to be right there with you.
That's right.
Yeah. That's big time. Cause you know, they're an important part of your program.
They sure are. They're the everything of the program. They do so much behind the scenes that I can't get to. Just very thankful and blessed to have that strong supporting cast.
Yeah. Well, one thing that is always constant with the NCAA in any sport is it's always changing, right? You know, I heard a podcast from Rick Barnes, who's head coach at University of Tennessee, and he said, you know, I've been doing it 40-something years, and the one thing that always happens is something changes. A new rule on the court, new rule off the court. Obviously, the big conversation in college athletics this day is, you know, how do we continue to build programs where we instill values in these players when the reality is our roster experiences so much turnover and the recruiting world is so much different with the transfer portal era. So talk to us a little bit about your philosophy on how are you building a program, or, you know, how do you keep a roster consistent but still have a program that these young men can attach themselves to and become a part of the pillars that you mentioned. But still the reality is you may have players come and go from year to year.
Yeah. Here's the deal. This is what coaches never say, okay? And the reason why they never say it is because it will be taboo to say. And people in the community and administrators will hate for this type of language to be conversed about, okay? Very seldom does a young man or a young lady choose a school for the school. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't choose my wife because she was from Memphis. Mm-hmm. I don't like Memphis that much. And I got family there.
Right.
I don't think she chose me because I'm from Sikeston, Missouri. Mm-hmm. I don't think she loves Sikeston that much. Okay. She chose me, and I just by chance to happen to be from Sikeston.
Right.
You understand?
Sure.
Student athletes don't choose the university because of the name of it, mm-hmm. or because of where it's located, or because it has an immaculate facility. They choose the university, which happens to be a byproduct of who they built a relationship with. Right. You can't build a relationship with Austin Peay. You have to build it with people that are associated with Austin Peay. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's right.
And so I think what happens sometimes is that people say, well, how can he or she just leave like that? Mm-hmm. Just like people just divorce like that. Mm-hmm. Just like when somebody gets a job opportunity, okay, they turn in a resignation and they pursue the new opportunity just mm-hmm. like that. But I would be a hypocrite, and I would need to walk off this segment with you if I said I had a problem with any young man or young lady deciding to transfer and leave as many times as they want to because coaches do it.
Sure. It's always been part of the landscape. Yeah.
It always has been.
Right.
But we want to hold student athletes to a higher standard than we're holding ourselves to in adults. Now, how can I say I got a problem with it when I was just at Northwestern State for 1 year before coming to Austin Peay? What can I say about a transfer rule when I just transferred?
Yeah, that's right. And we got people in our community, just like you said, they transfer companies just like this, no thought about it.
I transferred to Austin Peay as a student athlete.
Sure.
So I've been transferring my whole life.
Yeah. Right.
Before I came back to Austin Peay as an assistant, I'm going to tell you about transferring now. Before I came back as an assistant, I was at Furman for 2 months.
It's all about relationships.
2 months.
Yeah.
Before I came back to be Coach Luce's assistant.
Wow.
So transferring.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. You know about it. And
I've
you're
lived
okay
it.
with it. Yeah. For the advocate of the student athlete. Yeah. Because it is about relationships. Well, it is powerful. I think we've got some great stories on this year's team. Big time new roster. As an Austin Peay fan, there's some level of excitement every time the season ends, and you're anticipating the next season because you're like, we're gonna have a lot of new players. We're gonna see that in football next year. We got to see that in basketball this year. One of the players that we're all excited about for people who've been around here a long time is seeing Daniel Luce come in, right, and be the grandson of Dave Luce and get to be a part and putting the Austin Peay jersey on. What's it like as the head coach? And you're getting to see one of your mentors there in the stands every game, both coming to watch you coach because I know he loves and cares about you, but he's also there to see his grandson. How do you respond to that? How does that make you feel?
I tell you, you have to catch raindrops, right?
Yeah.
What I've really respected about Coach Luce is that I haven't seen him much, right? And he know that we have an open door policy to where he can come around as much as he wants to. But I think that he really respects the process that his grandson Daniel is going through. I also think that he's inundated with the health of his wife. I know that's not well right now. And so him having to juggle all of that. But one thing that saddens me is that before the season started, Daniel had one wish, and that was for his grandmother to see him play in a governor's uniform one time. And that hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
And that really saddens my heart. And that's when you know that it's bigger than basketball. And that was a wish of the family. I think it's still a wish of the family. And I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition. But what I can tell you is that I know he doesn't take any second a day for granted in how he slides on those practice jerseys and those game uniforms.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can see it. It's been fun to watch him grow up. I got to watch him play as a middle schooler, got to see him some in high school. You paid attention to while he was in Memphis playing and really excited about it. I saw some photos after the Murray game and just the emotion that he had, pulling out that win, with it being so meaningful to our community, because we've not always been guaranteed a win against the Murray State Racers, when seeing that emotion on Daniel's face as we were victorious that game was really something special. And obviously our prayers and thoughts continue to be with the Luce family. I saw today that the university is going to be awarding them the Spirit of Austin Peay Award at the Candlelight Ball this year. Coach Dave Luce, when I was at Austin Peay, he was both the head basketball coach and the athletic director.
Yeah.
So as I was president of the student body and was in the president cabinet's meeting, Coach Luce was always there. He was always very gracious to me. You have this thought that athletic directors, big personalities on campus, are only worried about their players, only worried about their athletes, or things that go in the athletic department. He was always just so gracious to me. And this was 2002, 2003, as a random student that he had no accountability to, no connection to, but he was always very nice to speak to me and tell me how things were going, encourage me. And obviously my time at Austin Peay was really impactful for who I've become and who I am today. And so I really haven't forgotten that. Tell me a little bit about, you had this series you had this time as an assistant, and you were kind of in the shadows leadership role, and then you get to step into a new role. And I ask this, both friend to friend, because I feel like my time as a leader in the community is changing also, because for a long time I was the young member of, let's even just say, our industry as a dentist, and then kind of years go by and you don't realize it, but now all of a sudden you're not the young guy anymore. Mm-hmm. Some people do look to you as a person of experience. You're still younger in nature, but you're definitely a leader. Somehow you snap your fingers and you were a young leader, and now you're not a young leader anymore. You're just a leader. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you would say to, those people in younger leader stages as they're kind of serving in obscurity, serving in not getting the recognition, awaiting for that next step? What did Coach Gipson learn in those years that helped prepare you for where you are now?
Yeah, you can't be afraid to be your authentic self. And the hardest thing to be in life is not be yourself.
Trying to do it, trying to fake it, trying to be somebody else. That's the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing to be in life. Is that when you wake up and you knew and you know that you weren't yourself in whatever moment. That's the hardest thing to be. And one of the best I heard a guy say one time, he said for almost 17 years, he brushed his teeth in the shower. And the guy said, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "Because I couldn't look at the mirror in myself."
That'll make you take a pause. Yeah. Those 17 years, they sound like a long time, and it is, but you snap your fingers. And so what I'm gathering from you is encouraging these young people to do some self-assessment, learn about yourself, be confident in who you are, bring your gifts to the community, be authentically who you've been made to be.
It's hard to be that.
Sure.
Because this generation is growing up differently than you and I.
Yeah.
Right? When we made a mistake back when we came up, the mistake stayed where it was. Okay? When this generation makes a mistake, it never leaves. Okay? It recycles itself and it presents itself every single day. And so I don't know what it's like to be their age when whatever I do or what I did in the past is still present as if it just now took place.
Yeah.
I don't know that life.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens with our generation, we tell them how to handle it, but we didn't live what they're living through.
Didn't have the same pressure.
We did not.
Yeah. That's powerful. And I know that, there's some young people who will listen or who will find this and be encouraged with that, because it is, sometimes you read a book or you listen to a podcast or you listen to a leadership talk and it's like, do this. And you aspire to, for me, it would have been trying to be my dad. I'm not my dad. Correct. I can't walk into a room and take over with this positive energy and command a whole room like he can. But what I can do is I can walk into a room, I am confident, I'll look you in the eye, and I will genuinely care about you. Not that my dad's not that way, but I had to get to a place where I'm junior, and that's different, and it's not less than, it's just different. And It has allowed me to be very comfortable in my skin, knowing that I'm not him. People shouldn't expect me to be him. This podcast it's not going to be super funny and super outrageous or anything, but it's just me authentically telling stories and talking to people like you who inspire me and help me feel like we've got a really great place to live.
That's your authentic self. And I'm going to tell you, your authentic self has really made me and my family feel warm from day one when we arrived back in Clarksville, Tennessee. You were one of the first to reach out. And you were one of the first to make us feel welcome. And just know that unconditional love is not taken for granted by the Gipson family or our staff or team.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. What would you say to somebody in the community who has not experienced the new Austin Peay basketball? They haven't been to the arena. They don't know your brand of basketball. You know, what would your encouragement for them be to get back involved, attend a game, you know, get to know the players, engage with the program on social media, whatever it may be?
You know, I really want the people of Clarksville to want to be involved because that's the right thing to do for Clarksville and for Austin Peay. Not because I'm the head coach at Austin Peay. Mm-hmm. Okay? During the press conference is what they call it. I said my biggest disappointment as an alum was people telling me that they stopped coming because Austin Peay wasn't winning. Mm. Okay, when you have a child, do you not go to the game because your child team is bad?
Right.
Right? No.
You're still there.
Anybody I know that has a child that plays a sport, they're going win, lose, or draw. Mm-hmm. Whether they're 0-15 or 15-0. Now, when people told me that, what moved my needle was that told me that the ones that said that didn't have unconditional love for Austin Peay. Mm-hmm. It was only predicated on the success. It was not predicated on, hey, I'm going to help push the wagon.
Right.
Versus I'll jump on the wagon if we're having success. Okay? That's what I want to help grow while I'm in the gap.
Yeah.
Okay? And I say this all the time. I don't know how long I'll be at Austin Peay.
Sure.
I have no idea.
Right.
Only God knows that. But while I'm here, the goal is to get people to help push the wagon and have skin in the game with the momentum and helping build it.
Yeah. Not
viewing the momentum and then becoming a part of it after the fact.
That's a strong word right there. I do have to say, part of it was you spoiled us. You guys won too much. You know, we're on campus 16-0 in the OVC. We're feeling good, you know. But, you know, those were some good days to be on campus and watch you play for sure. But I really enjoy and am encouraged by that word because as a community, it is something, whether you attended Austin Peay in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, doesn't matter. Whether you didn't attend Austin Peay, with the geographic location of Austin Peay, with the fact that so many of our administrators, decision makers, people in the athletic department have lived here for a long time, we do have a pride in the university, and everyone can help play a role in pushing that wagon forward. Everyone.
We can.
Yeah.
And you know how I know we got it? This is how I know we got it. And Austin Peay has had it for a long time. Okay? We had that terrible tornado. Okay? And we sold 5,800 tickets that night. And people still came out while the tornado was still turning. And even though all 5,800 couldn't come, I guarantee you we probably still had 4,500. Sitting in the seats, right? But the problem is that Austin Peay, all these years, have not learned to make every game as Murray State.
That's true. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, you know? I will take that. You're right. It's absolutely it. That's the game we all circle. When the schedule gets released, we look at when's the Murray game? That's the one we go. And we don't have the same passion for what was the old old calendar, the TSUs, the Tennessee Techs, and whoever else was coming to town. Now it's the Bellarmines and,
That's
and, you
right.
know, the new opponents, right? That's a strong word. It's a challenge.
Tell me this.
Yes.
Why should a young man or a young lady want to stay here when the only game they feel the energy is against Murray State? That's someplace to want to play.
That's a challenge. We better take it.
But I tell you this, if the electricity and the energy we bring when we have Murray State, because it was electric when we had Murray State in the building, you bring that, every top player in the country want to come to Austin Peay and want to stay.
Yeah, right. And we know from your boys, when you play and it's emptied out at the end of every game, that's number one. This group, everyone that I've seen, every game I've watched, everybody that I've talked to says they put the energy out there. It's gritty. It's, you know, in the old Memphis Grizzlies, gritty and grindy. You know, I mean, they're fighting hard. Every possession, offense, defense, doesn't matter. It's fun basketball to watch.
Well, thank you. I tell you what, today was the best practice we've had since we've been here. We've had some good practices, but today we had a great one.
Hey.
And we left empty.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's listening to this, we're recording on January the 10th or so in Coach Gipson's first season here. We need to buy some tickets, buy some friends some tickets, you know, circle some dates on the calendar, make it down there, watch the Govs play. We've got an exciting roster, play really, really fun basketball. We've got the connection to the older generation, and we've got some new players to our community that just can light it up. You know?
When is our next game? Y'all know? Do anybody know our next home game? Huh?
January the 18th.
January the 18th.
That's 8 or so days from right now.
We play Murray State January 18th. And then when's the next one? We play Murray State January 20th.
Yeah, back to back.
So what we gonna do is
we're gonna buy tickets for Murray every
Murray
game.
State.
Yes, that's right.
So we're gonna call the NCAA and see if we can get Racer put on the front of everybody's jersey that we play moving forward.
Change the calendar.
Racers.
Huh? That's right. That's the greatest idea anybody's ever had.
I'm telling you.
That's right.
We play Murray State.
That's right. Yeah.
And so what we're gonna do from now on, we got to get with the administration and say just put Murray State on every calendar date.
Yeah.
That's the only team I know we playing, Murray State.
Well, and next year after it catches on, we're going to have the passion for every game.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Coach Gipson, it has been a pleasure. It is always good to see you. I love running into you around town. You know, you being a person that just loves our community. You've been here in so many different roles as a player, you know, eating at Johnny's, and then as a GA, as an assistant coach. I used to run into you there at Pastor Harris's at the gym there at his church. You know, you were just coming to watch some kids that you knew.
That's
you know,
right. That's
just
right.
Because you love basketball, you wanted to come watch the magician Terry Boykin teach
That's
some
right.
skills
That's
and things
right.
like that. You know, great memories from our friendship in those days. And then when I saw that you were the head coach, man, I was really, really excited because I know our program's going to win, and I know that that's really what matters. But I also know that these young men are going to have a life-changing experience under your leadership and the leadership of your assistants and in your program. They're going to have these pillars that you talked about: servanthood, brotherhood, unconditional love.
That's it.
They're going to have people like Pastor Harris a part of their life. It's going to change their life forever. And there's probably a Corey Gipson who's on the roster right now, who's going to be a coach one day, and who's going to take these experiences the same way you did and catapult it and reproduce it and multiply it, you know, the influence that you're putting in. So, man, I love you, man. I'm glad you're here in our community. Thank you so much and your wife for doing all that you can, because I know you're gone a lot. Thank you for this time, middle of the season. I'm honored that you take the time to be here with us.
Hey, this is the least that we could do. You blessed us with your energy and your love, and so anything you need from us, we're always here for you. And man, we got nothing but unconditional love for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go, P. Well, hey, if you made it to the end of this episode, I know that you heard the passion from Coach Gipson. I know that you can feel it either through your speakers, or if you're watching on YouTube, whatever it is, go ahead and share it with somebody. Tell them the Murray game's coming up. Send them a link. Tell them the schedule's wrong.
Every
just buy
game is
tickets. It's Murray. Just buy tickets and show up there. Kids, I've taken my kids to a couple games this year. They love the arena. So much fun stuff to do downtown. We didn't get into all of that, but make sure that you get to a game down there. Watch this new brand of basketball, leaving it on empty every night they play on the court. You'll really, really enjoy it. You'll be blessed by it in lots of ways. Go back, watch some other episodes, catch some other of our guests just like Corey Gipson, who have told the story about what it makes Clarksville the greatest place to live in America. Thanks so much. We'll catch you on the next episode.